What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Welcome to Pretty Dece, your daily entertainment and pop culture show. Today on the show, I want to talk to you about a game that I'm just now coming into, but I've become very obsessed with in the past week or so. This is a game that I'm a little late to the party on. It's been out for a little while, but I wanted to talk about it in case you hadn't heard about it, or maybe in case you didn't know too much about it. And that game is Fortnite. Now, Fortnite is a game that maybe you've actually seen. Maybe you might have seen it being played on Twitch. It's one of the most popular games on Twitch right now. But it kind of is two separate games in one. The version that gets played on Twitch is typically the Battle Royale mode. And there's a whole separate mode of the game that's completely different called Save the World. And really you can kind of break those two modes down into PvP, that's the Battle Royale mode, player versus player, and PvE, player versus enemy, which is the Save the World mode. So, I really enjoy the Battle Royale mode, the PvP. It's very fun. It's what you see on Twitch. And essentially that is a copy of the kind of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds style gameplay, where 100 people get dropped onto an island, and you start out with nothing. You have to scavenge for supplies, you have to scavenge for weapons, and then you kind of move around and you kind of hunt other people in kind of a sense. As the game progresses, the safe area on the map gets smaller and smaller, so it kind of funnels everyone into the same area. And then eventually it's just last man standing. So winning a game of Battle Royale is kind of a huge accomplishment. You've beaten 99 other people at lasting on this island. So it's a really fun mode. It's very rewarding to play and to get better at. And it's really neat, and that makes a lot of sense why everyone is streaming that mode. And I think it's one of the better Battlegrounds style modes that are out there. Several games have added this. I really like Fortnite's twist on it, however. Fortnite is generally just a very fun, charming game. The art style is incredible. If you're watching the YouTube version of Pretty Dece here, you can see some of the art for the game happening behind me. You can see some screenshots and just general promotional stuff that's going on. And you can see the game is kind of very cartoony and just very cute. It's a fun world to exist in, even if you're being hunted by 99 other people. For example, in the Battle Royale mode, there is a bomb that you can throw at the enemy called the Boogie Bomb, which makes them dance. They can't do anything else but dance. Music plays, they get down. And it's just super fun. It's fun to watch, it's fun to play, and honestly, it's fun to get boogie bombed. So, I really like that the game has a little bit of charm to it, where something like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has a lot less of that. It's much more tactical, it's much more serious. I like my games with a little side of weirdness as it comes. And I really, really enjoy playing the Battle Royale version of Fortnite. I love that they add this building aspect to it, which adds a ton of strategy to the game that isn't present in other Battlegrounds type games. You can build these structures and ramps and walls, and you often use them defensively. So if someone's shooting at you, you can put up a wall really fast, and then they're shooting the wall instead of you, giving you a chance to regroup, maybe get away. And the end game often turns into people building giant towers and firing rockets at each other. It's a very different experience to play and to watch than something like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And all that is definitely a blast. But the other half of Fortnite, the side you don't hear about as often, is actually my favorite side of Fortnite. And that is the Save the World mode. And this is the PvE, the player versus enemy side. And this side of the game is very complicated. Let's start there. So first of all, the Battle Royale mode is completely free to play, and the Save the World mode will be going free to play this year. But as it is kind of in development, as they're working out, you have to buy your way into the game. Now, there are different packages that you can buy, but at base level, you're going to spend, $40 probably to get in here. So you are kind of buying what is essentially a retail product. And first and foremost, this is structured as a free-to-play game. So there are loot boxes. So if you're initially turned off by spinning the giant slot machine to see what kind of loot you get, this might not be the game for you. However, I think their free-to-play model is perfectly fine. I think that they give you enough stuff for free. I have not felt the need to actually purchase anything yet with actual money outside of my initial buy-in for the game. You kind of get a good ramp up as you play through the game of stuff you don't really need to kind of throw extra money in. And I haven't felt like my progress has been heavily gated by my not wanting to spend extra money on it. So what kind of game is this? Let's take a step back. The Battle Royale side is just kind of a straight shooter. You're hunting people down. This is much more akin to kind of tower defense. Initially, when you start playing the game, it's completely unclear what type of game this is. It's extremely dense as to what you're doing. There's a million systems that they present to you that you don't super understand right off the bat. And it takes kind of hours and hours of the game to understand how all the systems work together and how they interact. But I think that ends up working to its benefit, even though I think a lot of people will probably bounce off of it as they start. Basically, the structure of the game is this. You pick a hero. The hero has different classes. There's 40-some odd heroes in the game. And you drop into a map. Now, all these maps start with a resource gathering phase. And resources are very important in this game because you have to craft everything that you get in the game. If you don't get it outside of a loot box, if you want to make something, you have to craft it. So you're crafting weapons, you're crafting bullets. Yes, if you want bullets in this game, you either have to find them out in the world by scavenging around, opening trash cans, things like that, or literally craft them with the other elements that you've gotten. So everything is about resource management in this game, and every level starts with kind of having some time to go out and do some of that resource gathering in the cool world and maps that they've built. All these maps are kind of procedurally generated, put together, and you kind of run around. But at the end, they all end with this, essentially what is a tower defense mode. You will have one spot on the map that you have to defend, and there are different game modes that give you different things to defend, but it's always kind of one spot you have to end up defending, and you build a fort around this spot. And it's super, super fun. You put walls up, you put barricades up, you put traps up, you put all these things that are going to hinder the enemy getting to that spot. And then you trigger the mission. So it starts, and you have X number of minutes. You have to defend that spot from the enemy. And the enemy is just waves and waves of these zombie characters. Some stronger than others, some have abilities. But you and your teammates are fending off all of these enemies. And it's super fun. You get to try out all the cool defenses that you built. You get to try out all the cool guns that you've crafted. And it's a really good payoff for all the work that you kind of put in and built up to this point. So each mission is kind of a little tiny fort defense that you do, and you start over fresh every time you build a new fort, and you go through all the collection process again. Along the way, there are a ton of quests to do, so the quest log has not gotten boring yet. They're giving you tons of stuff to go kind of pick up and to achieve, and now we're getting to the point in the game, or I am at least, where I have a ton of specialized things to do. So it's play as a soldier and do these things, or play as a builder and do these sorts of things. And it keeps it varied, it keeps it fun, and you get rewards for those as you go. Now, I said your team because every one of these matches that you drop into, you get paired with random other people. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I found it to be good more than bad. People all seem to be into the general concept of scavenging for a bit and then building a really cool base and defending it. No one has really wanted to go off on their own and not really participate in the mission thus far, but your mileage may vary. You are interacting with real people on the internet, and I don't have to tell you how that goes. Sometimes that can go horribly awry. The game really shines when you get your actual friends in the game. Rolling around with 3 of your buddies in a squad as you drop in and build cool forts and stuff is truly a blast. The game really, really shines when you get your friends involved. And the same is true in the Battle Royale mode. Getting a squad of your friends in to go hunt other people in the game is one of the coolest and scariest game experiences that you will have in recent memory. Seeing other people is genuinely scary every time you do in that mode. And, you have to work together. You have to figure out how to sneak around. You have to pick up your teammates when they're down. There's a lot going on, and it's very, very fun. And the same is true for the Save the World mode. So Fortnite, free-to-play game. At some point this year, it'll go completely free-to-play. You'll be able to play both sides, without any money going into it. And it certainly is a super, super fun game. The devs are really supporting the game, adding a ton of stuff to both modes. It seems like on a weekly basis. And it's a game that's going to get supported all throughout the year. So if you were looking for a game that kind of scratches either of those itches, PvE or PvE, then definitely give Fortnite a shot. So that's going to do it for Pretty Dece for today. Thank you very much for joining me on the show. Make sure that you like Pretty Dece on Facebook, facebook.com/PrettyDeceShow. Follow me on Twitter @PrettyDeceShow and visit PrettyDeceShow.com. I'll be back tomorrow for another daily episode. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe, whatever platform you are listening or watching on, so you never miss any of the content.